Yeah, yo, it's Ugly Truck Driver. How the flock are ya? Well, I'm down here in Georgia now at my new residence. I guess I can become a redneck. Sitting there looking at the news this week. I keep wanting to say to myself, false flag, false flag, false flag, false flag. And the reason being, with the advent of this, quote, Ebola crisis, unquote, and the news media is just eating it up. I've been watching all the media 24/7, 365. You know, I think America needs to listen up a little, okay? We had one person from Africa that came to Dallas, Texas, and died from Ebola, and he was infected before he left. Unfortunately, a couple of nurses caught it for whatever reasons. And now we're doing this thing that, the nurses one girl climbed on an airplane, took a ride. Another that handled some of the medical stuff at the hospital was on a cruise ship, and they did their containment stuff on a cruise ship. And it's, trust me, Ebola is a serious thing. It's got like a 70% death rate. But our leader in the White House won't close the borders to people coming from West Africa, and it's all political. He appointed a political hack that's worked in the Democratic Party for years and years as the Ebola czar. And while everybody's all hung up on this Ebola stuff, the other things that are also important, the investigations, Benghazi, the IRS, all these other things have been pushed to the side. And I'm wondering if it isn't some kind of tactic by our government to sit there and make these other things that are very important look small. ISIS got a couple of 3 jets and is learning how to fly them. Who cares? You know how many years it takes to become a good, efficient fighter pilot? It'll never happen. But everybody's all worried about this Ebola. True, we should be concerned about it. But the thing is, common sense seems to have taken leave of America these days. They go from news cycle to news cycle to news cycle, whatever's hot at the moment. I mean, we haven't heard anything from Darrell Issas on his investigation in Congress, Trey Gowdy on his investigation in Congress. The Benghazi thing got buried. Our Marine in Mexico is still in jail, and our government hasn't done a damn thing for him. And yet, Obama can trade 5 terrorists for 1 deserter. It's been over there 5 years. Do you see a dichotomy here? Do you see a point where stuff is just screwed up? Coming up as a young kid, having been in the military, having grown up in a military family, you end up believing in things that are black and white, and there's very little gray in between. And it seems these days everything's gray, and there's nothing right or wrong. It's all nebulous. And that's why I hate to say it, but I don't trust our government anymore. I mean, people sit there and knock Edward Snowden. He's a traitor. He's this or that. Well, hell, without Snowden, we wouldn't know what the NSA's doing to us. Or possibly the FBI, the CIA, whoever else. We don't know. But it's getting to the point where the news media in general needs to start reporting the news, not commenting on the news, not sitting there and blogging on the news. I remember back in the 50s and the 60s, people like Edward R. Murrow, John Facenda, a whole bunch of other ones, they would report the news. They didn't put their personal commentary or anything else in along with it. It was hard news. News today on TV, in the media, on the internet, it's a joke. If they had gone to journalism school back in the 40s and 50s, they'd know what news reporting is. But see, now it's all about the numbers. It's all about attention span. You know, what agenda, what age groups watching what and doing that. And I even see on some of these places, we got our young college kids, you know, those mush-minded idiots that we spend $20,000 to $50,000 a year to send them to these liberalistic colleges that are taught by socialist communists. And their little mush minds get impregnated with all this nonsense from the Bill Ayers types, the Joe Stalin types, even the Adolf Hitler types. And it brings back a memory I had when I was a kid, when Khrushchev, who was the premier of Russia back in the 50s, was beating his shoe on a table at the United States and said, "We will conquer you, but it will come from the inside out." Well, it seems to be here, folks. We're being conquered from the inside out. The people we elect to office to send to Washington, D.C. to do our bidding are our employees. Our tax dollars pay their wages, and they're not listening to us. And then you get the, what I call the hippy-dippy types from the 60s that are now people like John Kerry and what's his name, Brown, the governor in California. They're leftist. They're so far left-leaning that they can't stand up straight. They'd fall over. I mean, our border. How long have we been talking about immigration in our border? Years and years and years. The first thing was originally build the fence, then we'll talk about immigration and naturalization. We have a border from San Diego to Brownsville, Texas, that's 2,000 miles long. There's actually only built about 700 miles of fence along that line, and it's a lousy fence to start with. Listen, I used to live in Deming, New Mexico. I could sit there and go down to the border, and the only thing in the field between the United States and Mexico, this is down where Pancho Villa was a 3-wire barbed wire fence going down the road. That was the border. I used to go into Naco, Mexico to pick up limestone when I lived down in Cochise, Arizona, and then take that into Tucson. I'd come through the border with a truck. I wasn't even stopped. I'd go about 400 yards inside Mexico, load the limestone, and take off with it. The border is a mess. And let's not even get into our budget. I mean, they say, well, we're $17 trillion in debt, and according to the best projections, by the time Obama gets out of office, we'll be $23 trillion in debt. When in actuality, including unfunded mandates, currently we are over $121 trillion in debt, and we'll never be able to pay it back. You know, you get the things with our trade with foreign countries. We owe more than we bring in. We're trading with the wrong partners, and the wrong people we're giving too many tax breaks with. These are things that cross my mind, and that's the reason I say, like this thing with Ebola, false flag, false flag, false flag. They're trying to turn your brain and your mind away from things that matter. They're trying to sit there and evade the reality. But see, what do I know? I'm just a dumb old truck driver. I've been on this earth 68 years. I've seen things from the 40s to now. I remember one of the last speeches that Harry Truman made on the old black and white TVs way back when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I remember speeches made by President Eisenhower on TV, the old black and white ones with the rabbit ears and all that. The fuzzy channels. I mean, back then you could get ABC, NBC, and CBS, and that was it. And they started at 6 a.m. in the morning, and at midnight they shut the TV down, and all you got was a test pattern. So I think it's time that we as Americans need to go back and find our actual history. And for the libtards, socialists, 47 percenters, the wannabes, the gimme, the Obama phone types, we just need to slap them to the curb. I mean, now even Christianity's being attacked here in America. The Islamic Muslims are coming into places like Dearborn, Michigan, and saying, this is Islam land. No, it's not. I'm sorry. Our forefathers came to this country from whatever foreign countries. They came in the right way. They assimilated to our society, which is based on the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, and the Bill of Rights. I don't want to hear about their Sharia law, convert or kill. I don't want to hear about their sexual mutilations of women, their honor killings, all the rest of that, their halal meat. If they don't like being here in America, go back to wherever they came. This is America. We've been here 238 years. We have a lifestyle and set of standards that we go by. And all you foreigners that come into America, if you can't adapt, if you can't assimilate, go home. Problem is, all the liberal socialists say, oh, we got to give them a break. Question when it comes to Islam and Muslims. How do you negotiate with somebody that just wants to simply kill you? Think on it. But like I say, all the other things that are going on, I mean, I can think of 12 scandals right now in the Obama administration that are being ignored because of this Ebola thing. Now, I may not have it all right, but I know one thing. I damn sure don't have it all wrong. I would suggest you all go back and start looking at some of this older stuff and remember it, and quit letting the news media sit there and run your mind. Just truck driver's opinion, you understand?